Right, hopefully you can see my screen. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Thanks for joining me on this webinar this evening. Really appreciate you supporting me in putting together this webinar, which is entitled An Introduction to the Money Game. I'm Shiv Haria, as you can see at the bottom there. And if you can hear me clearly, please can you type yes in the chat box? Can you find the chat box? It should be to the right of your screen. Perfect. Okay, brilliant. If you can't hear me, can you type in no? Good. So there's nobody. Fantastic. Okay, I'm just going to start this webinar in about 30 seconds or so. I'm just waiting for the last few people to join because they've got potentially confused on the change of platforms. So just give me 30 seconds. Fantastic. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to start with how this webinar came about. So I was strolling around on the Facebook page for UPW 2017, and someone had put a request for an IFA on there. An IFA is an independent financial advisor. And they'd said, if anyone can recommend a good independent financial advisor, please could you let me know? So I'd messaged this chap back. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but I thought I messaged him and I said, I'm not an independent financial advisor, but I have become financially literate to some extent over the past few years, and maybe I can help you in some way. So I asked him to, if he wanted to, he could give me a call. This led to a couple of different calls, and what I quickly realized was that if I could help him and a couple of other people who had seen the post, maybe I'd post it onto the actual group as a post of its own to say, if anyone wants help with kind of financial literacy and trying to understand this money game, then I'd volunteer my knowledge to it. And this is all knowledge that I've obviously accumulated over some time. And the reason I did that is because it's quite a confusing world out there in investments and finances and stuff. We're not really taught about any of this kind of stuff at schools. And all we do is we trust accountants and IFAs, independent financial advisors, or even FAs, financial advisors, to give us advice. But sometimes these financial advisors, their goals are not aligned to our goals. So, for example, my goal was to be, let's say, financially independent and financially free, to not have to work. But a lot of these accountants and IFAs that I was coming across a couple of years ago were all in a job themselves. So I was taking advice on how to invest my money so I don't have to work from someone who hadn't invested their money so they don't have to work. And it just felt a little bit like the blind leading the blind. So I think that's why it can be a bit of a confusing world. And what I'm trying to do with this webinar is help you understand what I have come to understand over the last few years or so. Everyone with me still? Fantastic. I'm just going to go with who is this webinar for? If I ask you a question, by the way, just type it into the little chat box on the right so I get your responses in there. Who's this webinar for? So the first type, there's three types of people. The first type of person is people that have no idea about their finances and they just want to get them under control. They know they should be doing something about the finances, but at the moment they're just kind of all over the place. They either have enough money but they don't know where they're spending it, or they don't have enough money and they just don't know how to get more money. So lack of financial clarity is the first type of person. The second type of person is people that want to escape the rat race, but they don't know where to start. So let me just define what the rat race is. The rat race is what people call going to work, basically. So you wake up, you eat breakfast, you go to work, you eat dinner, you come home, and you go to bed. And you do that for what, 5 days a week, most people, for 50 years of your life. And that's a pretty big chunk of your life to be doing, all of nothing, just going round and round in the rat race. So the second person that this webinar is for people that don't want to just do that. They want to get out of that and be able to do something else with their lives, but they just have no idea of how to go about doing that. The third type of person that I have put this webinar together for, is for people that want to understand the blueprint to win the game of life. So this is people that have lived their lives a particular way with all the kind of things they've been told about money, finances, investments throughout their lives. They think that there's something not quite so kosher in the messages that they've been getting, and they just want to understand another way of living that could potentially mean that they win. And when I say win, what I really mean is achieve the goal that you want to achieve, whatever that goal is. And hopefully later on in the webinar, we'll try and understand what those goals might be. So, like I said, there's 3 different types of people that this webinar is for. And what I'm trying to do, like I said in this webinar, is to pass over through the webinar an amalgamation of information that I have accumulated from courses, audiobooks, podcasts, mentors, and my own experience. So yeah, it's just ideas and information, and I've been told by someone on Facebook that I'm not allowed to call it advice, and it isn't advice. It's just what my knowledge and my information has been to date. So what I'm going to cover in this webinar is a few different things. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me first of all, and my journey to financial freedom. And the reason I'm going to do that is so that you can relate a bit more to me and understand why I've made some of the decisions that I have, and how I've gone about them, and maybe you can hopefully understand that that it's possible. The second thing that I'm going to cover is this concept of the life game, and how you can find your mission or your purpose. And I know we did some of this kind of stuff at UPW, so this should be a little bit more about just trying to clarify some of those answers. The third thing that I'm going to cover is the concept of the money game, and how you can become financially free, which I think will be an interesting topic for people that are on this webinar. And the fourth thing is I'm going to give you some resources so that hopefully we can take this forward and do something with the webinar. What are the next steps here in order to put your plan into action? And by the end of this webinar, I'm hoping that you will understand that there's nothing special about me. And all I've done is I've just taken the knowledge and that I've got from various places, all the information, and I've applied it. So all I've done is implemented the ideas that I've learned. I also want you to understand that you can also do the same thing, and it's within a relatively short period of time. Obviously, a lot of people work their whole lives so they can have a little pot of money at the end so they can retire on that. Work 50 years so you can retire for 20 years. And I don't think that the equation needs to be that way inclined. You'll see from my story that it didn't take very long. It just took a lot of effort. And what you need to do is get yourself out of employee mode and put your mind to work to formulate a plan that works for you. Formulate your own plan. Use the test that Tony Robbins said when you go and talk to mentors and coaches and experts. Does this make sense? Let's go to our common sense corner, and if this makes sense, then let's do it. And if it doesn't make sense, then let's investigate further, because there could be something not quite so true in that. The other thing that you're going to get from this webinar is hopefully you'll have some direction in terms of what your mission could be, as I mentioned earlier, and then hopefully you'll have a bit more clarity about what you could do to achieve financial freedom as well. So I'm going to tell you a bit about my journey. This is me on the right hand side. So I used to live in Kenya, East Africa, until I was 6 years old. I have a twin brother, and so my parents always had double the cost of everything. If they bought one ice cream, they'd have to buy two. If they bought one PlayStation, they'd have to buy two, albeit we didn't get a PlayStation until quite some time on. I was born into an average working class family. My parents were self-employed, and they worked hard all of their lives. Their values were very much centered around education and being able to provide us with what they didn't have, which was, a great education. I remember my parents always telling me, you can buy all kinds of toys, but the best thing to buy for anyone is some sort of education where you can help them, something that can help them to help themselves. I studied at university. I studied economics at the University of Nottingham, and I know, although it sounds great, economics, it sounds like it was something to do with finance and money. Ironically, it wasn't particularly helpful in making kind of financial investments and helping me become financially free. Whilst at the university, I did, as I've written there, built and accumulated a lot of debt. I think easily £20,000 worth of debt, if not more than that, 25,000 probably. I know it's a lot worse today, but I still have that debt, or at least some of it. I think I've got about £18,000 worth of university debt. And if you don't understand why I've still got that debt, then you definitely need to stay until the end of this webinar, when I'm going to give you a free gift that I think will change your lives. I then I got a graduate position in a sales role for a large IT services firm. And I did the grad scheme over there for 3 years. It was a big corporate organization, lots of rules, lots of hierarchy. But it was a good grad scheme. There was only about 24 of us or something like that. And it was good to get to know everyone, get to understand how things work in the working world, in the corporate world. All my economics friends at that time went off to do accountancy and banking, and I did an internship in those roles, and I just didn't fancy it as my lifetime career. So I thought, let me go and do something that has a bit more transferable skills. So I went into sales for this large IT company. I then decided to go backpacking around South America for 6 months. It's something that I always wanted to do. In fact, I spent a lot of my summers at university. I spent half of the summer earning money, doing kind of door-to-door sales or washing cars or working in the corner store or whatever. And I spent the other half of it backpacking. I went to China, I went to Thailand, I went to Serbia. I just went to places that at the time, I didn't think that people went to. And I was quite intrigued by what those places could offer. And what I found in those places was a complete and utter mass of freedom. I just felt so free. I felt like no one could tell me when to wake up, no one could tell me when to go to bed, when to eat, when to go for a walk or when not to go for a walk, when to do anything really. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I think that is something that has helped me to cultivate the kind of mindset that I have right now, which is this mindset of kind of being free. Unfortunately, about 5 months into my 6 months South America travels, I got a call from my dad. And I remember it quite clearly. I was in Colombia at the time in a little hostel, and it had not very good internet. And I was just talking to my dad on Skype, and he was sort of telling me to come home, and I didn't really understand what he was talking about. It was quite anxious, and he was I think not in a good state. So then my brother got on the phone, and he mentioned to me that my mum had unfortunately had a heart attack, and this was mainly due to kind of diet and stress of work, stress of finances, just stress in general. And they live in London, and there's always stress in London. A couple of months before that, my grandma had actually passed away, and I hadn't gone back for the funeral and whatnot. So at that time, I was thinking to myself, well, I don't want to go back. I don't want to miss, helping my mum out and then have to go to her funeral. So, I took my ticket. It cost me an arm and a leg, and I bought a ticket and I went back home. When I got back home, after I'd been to see my mum and whatnot, I realised that she occupied quite an important position in our family business. So our family business is just a normal kind of electrical distributor. It's not very exciting, but she was the only person that understood the account system and the bookkeeping side of stuff. So without her, all the bookkeeping was kind of getting left behind. I then took over my mum's role in bookkeeping for the family business. And I tried to kind of make it more efficient, make it better, and just generally helped wherever I could in the business. I had a strong value at this point for family. I still do. And I really wanted to help wherever I could. I then read this life-changing book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I was labouring in a job earning about £12,000 a year, and I couldn't leave. Because of the family, and because I couldn't leave. Although I'd read this amazing book, I couldn't really put any of that into action. Serendipitously and fortuitously, my girlfriend then dragged me along to a property seminar. So she'd heard something, I think we found it on Facebook or something, and we went along to this seminar in London. And I don't know if any of you have been to these kind of seminars, but they've got these amazing kind of sales techniques. So Tony Robbins tried to do something similar throughout his seminar, but the ones that I went to were sort of tenfold. They were very emotionally draining, and I suppose very, very good at sales. So good at sales, actually, that the sales tactics that they used worked, and we actually purchased the course. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's a bit shocking, actually, for most people. The course cost us £25,000. And most people would be kind of having a heart attack at this point. And some of you are probably thinking, well, where the hell did you get £25,000 from? You can't have been that worse off if you could find £25,000. We put down a deposit on a credit card for the course. And it was after being, persuaded and convinced lots and lots of different times. And we paid it over a number of years in installments. And it was something that my girlfriend persuaded me to do because she knew that we were desperate. We were desperate for a solution that could help my mum. What I forgot to tell you actually was that after I'd read Rich Dad Poor Dad, the year later, so we're talking about 2014, early 2014, my dad had a heart attack as well. So my dad had a heart attack, same sort of reason, diet and stress. And I just knew that both of them needed to retire, but at the time they couldn't retire because they needed the income from their business to survive. So I knew that we needed to do something, and my girlfriend persuaded me to take buy this course. And like I said, we paid over a number of installments. We did eventually put it through our business, which was a tax deductible business expense, and it just was more tax efficient to do it that way. We started investing in property. We took massive action. I started doing that with my girlfriend, and we did our first proof of concept with our own funds. When I say our own funds, I really mean her funds. I was earning £12,000 a year. I pretty much spent all my wages when I put the deposit down. And fortunately, she had a reasonably good job, and she was saving some money rather than spending all her money. So she had saved some money, and we managed to, with her money, pay for our first house. Now, when we were looking for a way out and a way to do something, obviously property came across to us because we went to the property seminar and saw what it could do. And none of the other vehicles offered the kind of things that we were looking for in the circumstance that we were in. But more importantly, when we were looking for properties, we knew that we couldn't afford anything in London, but we didn't really know things outside, cities outside London that well. I've been to University of Nottingham, as I mentioned, but even there, it was still quite expensive. So eventually we settled on Leeds as our investment area. And, we had no ties to Leeds, no friends, no family. I didn't go to university there. My girlfriend didn't go to university there. There was no reason except for it was from our perspective at the time, a great investment opportunity for us. And what we needed was the best investment opportunity. So we started purchasing properties. The first one we did as a proof of concept with our own funds. And then after that, we used investor funds on personal loan contracts. And what we did is we guaranteed the returns. We guaranteed the amount that the investor was going to make on the back end. And if you think about this, most people have their money sitting in the bank right now. And if they do have money, it's sitting there earning zero, pretty much 0, 1, 2, 3%, nothing amazing, nothing special. And if we could just offer them some way of getting a little bit more than that, and it's guaranteed, then it makes a big difference. Obviously, you've got to put a portfolio together to be able to prove that you've got the skills to be able to not lose the money. But certainly, there's a lot of people out there who do have funds sitting around in banks. Like I says there, the final point on that slide, all we did was we took massive action. So in our first year, we moved to Leeds. So this was 2014, 2015, not too long ago. Moved to Leeds and purchased 8 buy-to-let properties for approximately £25,000 each. And the net profit on that was £24,000 per annum. So there's our first property on the webinar at the moment on the screen. It was a standard ordinary property, nothing special. And the first one, I think, is usually nothing special for people. It wasn't a great return, but over all of the properties that we bought that year, we made a net return of £24,000 per annum. The reason I say per annum is because once we had set that up, once we had done the work in that year to make that £24,000, that £24,000 comes in every single year going forward now. There's not a huge amount of work that we've got to do every month. This is taking into account mortgage and lettings, agent fees and insurance and all the rest of it. So this is our net profit. And you can see it's not a massive amount, but it covers our costs, £24,000. We did that within 1 year. The second year, we purchased 4 HMOs for approximately, HMOs are houses in multiple occupants. So this is like student houses kind of thing. So we purchased 4 of those for approximately £60,000 each. So this is £60,000 as the money that we needed from our own pocket. And we obviously got a mortgage for the rest of it. And also 2 smaller buy-to-let properties as well. And our net profit on the second year was £46,000. So that in total in the second year, we had £70,000 of income. And that's passive income after all the costs. So every year going forward, we'll have 70 grand of passive income per annum in our pockets without having to do a huge amount of work. The third year then, so they were now talking about 2016, 2017, because we had set this up, we actually had some time. We had some time to be free a little bit, and we had some time to pursue our mission. And after doing some of this kind of stuff, and I will say, this property, the first one that we purchased, we were really unsure about it and we needed a little bit of encouragement. And we eventually purchased it through a company that helped us to buy the property. But we eventually settled on the mission to enable people to live an exceptional life by helping them to understand and achieve financial freedom. So this is all about doing exactly what we've done, which is over the last few years, understood exactly what financial freedom is and how to go about getting it, taking action to actually go out and achieve it. And then now we, as I said, our mission is to help other people to kind of do the same thing. And the way that we help other people to do the same thing is through our company, Lifestyle Property People. And all we do is we help people who don't have necessarily the time or the education, or they just can't be bothered really. They can't be bothered to move up to Leeds or whatever it might be, and it's completely fine. But we help those kind of people invest in high cash flowing properties in Leeds. So yeah, hopefully you can see that in everything that we've done, that there's no special circumstances. It wasn't like we had loads and loads of money to start with. It wasn't like we were exceptionally clever or that we had lots of good contacts. It was really just a case of taking massive action. And for me at the time, as I mentioned to you, it was a need. I needed to take massive action. It wasn't something that I particularly wanted to do at the time. I was quite happily living my life and earning lots of money and whatnot. But it was something that I realized that I needed to do. So the next thing, I want to introduce this concept to you. It's called the life game. And the life game is a game that we all play in life, and the aim of the game, the goal of the game, is happiness. So I know that lots of people will say, "Oh, there's lots of different goals to life." In fact, can you just type into the chat box right now, if you're online, what the different goals of life you think might be? Okay, we've got money. Money is the goal of life. Think a bit harder on that one. We've got family. Fantastic. We've got happiness. Yeah, so I think that happiness is the goal of life. If you dig hard enough into all the other things that people want, the end goal is the reason why they want those things is because they want happiness. And we can call it fulfillment or joy or peace or whatever we want to call it, but um, we want to be fulfilled in our lives. And we've been through with Tony Robbins in UPW what the formula for happiness is. Can anyone remember? Anyone remember what the formula is for happiness? He said one word. I don't know if you can remember. Just type it into the chat box if you can remember. That's right, yes. So the word was progress. Happiness is progress towards your mission, towards a worthy goal, towards a goal that's bigger than just yourself. And that's what I think the goal of life is. The goal of life is to get to happiness. And the way you do that is by progressing towards your mission. So that's all well and good. And I think most people are on side with me on that one. Like I said, Tony Robbins himself said that. And he's pretty much a genius. The next stage, though, most people will be asking me, that's fantastic. That's really great. Formula's there. But how do I actually find my mission and my purpose in life? And that leads us on to the next slide. How do you find it? So there's a couple of things that I want to do here. I want you to do. So this is exercises. If you haven't got pen and paper or a phone or something like that, I'd really urge you to get some, or at least think about this. So the first thing to think about is write down a list of and think about, what do you love doing? What do you love doing? I don't mean just like. I mean, what sets your soul on fire? Where do you become alive? What do you do when you can't stop, when time just doesn't stand still? Sorry, when time stands still. And I want you to, in fact, if you look in your UPW workbooks, I think Tony Robbins went through this. You'll already have some answers for this, hopefully. What do you love doing? Can you type into the comments box at the moment some of the things that you love doing? Okay. So people are talking about sustainability. Okay. Talking to people about sustainability. Helping people with marketing. Okay. I would ask you why. Why do you like helping people with marketing? I've got making money again, same person. I think, again, same question. Why do you like making money? Why do you love making money? Helping people with fitness. Fantastic. So these are the things that you love doing. And the reason why I've asked you to write these down rather than just think about them is there is something that we need to do with having all three of these questions answered in a written format. The second thing that you need to do is write down, what are you great at doing? So where are your strengths? Where are your skills? Through life, obviously, you've been through a bunch of stuff, and that's taught you a lot of lessons, and you've gained a lot of skills from it. And what are you actually great at doing? If someone said to you, oh, that person over there, they are absolutely fantastic at, what's the missing word? It's generally a lot easier to ask, people, so friends and family, people that know you, what your strengths are, and it's a lot easier than trying to pick them out of yourself. What do they think that you're great at? Could you type in the comments box the kind of thing, so I know that you're on the same page? Yeah, exactly. So listening is something that you could be great at. Teaching, absolutely. Customer service, fantastic. Sales, yes. Being resourceful, fantastic. Yeah. So those are some of the things that you could be great at doing. And the final one is to write down a list of what causes speak to you. What causes speak to you? So I want you to think about. I'll come on to an exercise that will help you identify this. But which of the world's problems do you feel strongly about tackling in your spare time? And the important bit there is in your spare time, in the sense that if you didn't get paid to do this, what would you spend your time doing? If you had to leave your life possessions to a charity, what would you want the charity to do with your money? And the way you might want to think about this as well is think of the challenge, not a challenge, the challenge that you have overcome in your life. And for most people, one will stick out like a sore thumb. This one over here. So let me give you some examples. So it could be your finances, getting them into control, getting them under control. It could be relationships. It could be health, family, other kinds of challenges, adversities that you face. So think of a challenge that you have overcome in your life. Maybe you want to help other people to overcome that. Maybe you think that you have learnt something from that challenge, because challenges are here as opportunities for us to learn from. So maybe you've learnt something from that challenge, and rather than take 5 years for somebody else to learn it, if you just told them the answer, they might be able to get through that a lot quicker. Let me give you an example, just to help you to think about this. So when I was, I mentioned that obviously the challenge that I overcame was when I was 22. I found out that my parents were quite heavily in debt, and it had a bit of an impact on me. And it wasn't their fault, they just didn't have the opportunity, like so many people, to be educated in money and investments. And they were just accumulating more and more debt without kind of any way of really paying it off. They weren't really thinking about the future. They were more thinking about now and how they could spend the money now on, our education and things like that. And the challenge that challenge, I should say, that made me take action. And the action that it made me take was I realized that we needed to go on a strict spending diet. We needed to keep an account of all the money that was coming in and going out. And that's exactly what we did. We kept a diary of all the income and expenses that we had, and understood exactly what it was every single month that we were actually spending. We cut back all of our spending to make sure that our income was greater than our expenses, and that we could have some surplus every month. And I borrowed some funds that were secured against my salary to pay our way out of debt. And then obviously over a number of years with the excess funds, we managed to pay those borrowed funds off. And because of that experience, a cause that really spoke to me is financial education and investments. And I now want to help as many people as I can to be financially free, because I just don't think that we were born to pay bills and die, basically. And the way to try and figure out what your mission is to, once you've written down what do you love doing, what are you great at, and what causes speak to you, you need to try and find a common thread in these answers, and really think about, what links all of these things together. What experiences? Why am I great at this particular thing? Is it because of an experience that I've had in the past? And like I said, if you had to do this one thing without being paid for, would you do it? And if the answer is yes, then that could be your mission. And like I said, it's important to take some time on this one. It could be something to do with health or education. Maybe it's something to do with old age or depression. It could be something to do with living a well balanced life, or something to do with vitality, something like that. So once you've written down, like I said, all three of those aspects, try and think of something that combines them all together, a similar thread, and that may well be your mission. So, what's your mission? I don't need you to type it into the chat box, but I definitely want you to be able to identify what you think might be your mission. And let's not use the word mission. Maybe let's just use the word, what's your goal? What's your goal in life? What do you want to achieve? What have you achieved that you can help other people to? Tony Robbins said that the two spiritual needs were growth and contribution. And some of that growth is stuff that you've already been through, because through our hardships and adversities, we have been able to grow. And now it's about contributing and using potentially that growth that we've learned, the skills that we've learned, to try and help other people through those same situations or similar situations. But why don't most people do this? What is the challenge? What's holding people back? Why don't people pursue their mission or their purpose? And the reason why people don't do this, the reason why people are not happy, we've defined happiness earlier as happiness is the progress towards your mission. And the reason why people don't make progress towards their mission, I think, is because they are stuck in a job. And if you're stuck in a job, you are, for the best part of 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day for some people, putting all of your hours, all of your time towards someone else's mission. And whether it's, you work in an organization for a normal limited company and it's the owner's mission, or whether it's you work in a big corporate and it's the shareholders' mission, you are working in a job, putting all your hours away towards someone else's mission. Just want to let that sink for a second. And that's what I think really is the challenge that holds people back from pursuing their own mission. Let me introduce another concept to you then. That is the concept of the money game. So the money game is something that I'm sure has been coined before I got to it, but it's something that I conceptualized in my own head as a game, like the life game, a game that we all need to play to do with money. And the goal of the money game is to accumulate multiple streams of passive income, so you no longer have to trade your labor, which is your time, your labor hours, for a salary, for money. So at the moment, like I said, a lot of people are working, and they're working so that they can basically eat at the end of the day. They can eat, they can go on holiday, they can live a comfortable life. But what we're trying to say here is the money game is won when you no longer have to spend your time working, when you have other passive streams of income coming into your pocket or your bank, so you can now spend your time on something that is worthwhile to you, something that sets your soul on fire. And let me be clear here as well. When I say passive income, it's usually only passive after you have been very, very active. So what that means is that you need to set these streams up. You need to work your butt off to get these streams set up. And eventually, once they have been set up correctly, they can then become passive streams of income. In our property business, when we started, we were working, a minimum of 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, for at least, 18 months, 2 years, to try and get those streams of passive income up. We used to go to all the networking events, and these, as you know, happen, in the evenings, attend all the webinars and the courses, read all the books. And after all of that we'd done, we still actually needed time to actually go away and do the actual buying of houses, doing all the viewings, doing all the refurbishment and negotiating and putting in offers and all that kind of stuff. So there was like this day job and then the evening job, and it took up quite a lot of time. So passive income is only cultivated after you have been very active and once you've set up the actual stream first. I want you to think of your finances like a table. This picture in front of us is supposed to be a table. If you haven't got the picture in front of you, just imagine a table. And imagine a table that has one leg in the middle. Circular table, let's say, or a square table, one leg in the middle. If it only has one leg in the middle, let's say in this instance, your finances have one stream of income, let's say your job, it might be a little bit unstable. If you lean too much on one side, it becomes a little bit unstable. Let's say, okay, you have two streams of income. So you have two legs to this table. So let's say you have a job and you have property rental income. Oh, that's fantastic. You've now got two streams of income and you're no longer reliant on just the one thing, just your job, for example. So it's a bit more sturdy than just having one leg, but it's still not that sturdy. It's only got two legs. Now let's think that you had 10 legs to your table. And in fact, as you can see where I'm going with this, the more streams of passive income that you have, the more stable your finances will be. And in fact, you want it to have so many passive income streams that you can stand on the table of your finances, you can jump up and down on it, and you know that nothing's going to happen to it. Can you type into the comments box if you understand what I'm saying? You just type yes into the comments box. Perfect. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So let me just recap a little bit. We have the life game, and the aim of the life game is to make progress towards your mission. The aim of the life game is happiness, and the way that you achieve happiness is to make progress towards your mission. The thing that's standing in our way is that we have no time to do that because we're too busy working for other people. And the money game, which is a concept, the aim of the money game is to develop and accumulate multiple streams of passive income so that we can make the table of our finances more sturdy. Fantastic. So next things next, how do we generate passive income? As you can see from this table, and I'll just describe it for if you don't have it in front of you, it says finances on the top, that's the top of the table, and then the legs are property, ebook, job, MLM, and dividend. I'm going to go through these in a second, but how do we generate passive income? Can you guys just type in the chat box what kind of ways you think there are to generate passive income? I've given a couple of examples here. If there's any more, just type them out so I know where we are and that you understand what I'm talking about. Brilliant. Okay, perfect. Fantastic. Next slide then. So to generate passive income, we need to do, there's a few steps. The first step is to identify your financial freedom number. And when I mean financial freedom target, what I really mean is what income do you need to not have to work? And the first time that you hear that sentence, you might be thinking, okay, well, my salary is, £3,000 a year, a month, sorry, or £5,000 a month, or £1,000 a month. So I need that amount. But I want you to really think about this. How much money would you need to not have to work? So what that really means is how much money do you need to pay your necessities? So that's things like your rent or your mortgage, your food, bills, so this is electricity, utilities, etc., your travel costs. If I told you that you would lose your job tomorrow, what expenses would make the cut going forward? Which of these would be your necessities? And if you add up your necessities, that will be your financial freedom number. And usually that is much lower than you're currently getting paid. Fantastic. The second step is to identify your vehicle that you're going to use to create your passive income. Now, the way that you choose your vehicle is completely dependent on your money and the time that you have available to you. So first thing I want you to do, can you just type eye into the chat box if you're doing or if you're considering any of these ways that I've got over here, any of these vehicles, just so I know who's in the audience. Okay, we've got some people that are doing property. We've got some people that are on MLMs, network marketing. Fantastic. We've got some people that have got businesses. And some people are doing Amazon. Okay. No one's doing affiliate marketing at the moment. Anyone written a book? No. Okay. So let me just explain these vehicles that we've got over here, and you'll get an understanding of what I mean by money and time availability. So the first one is rental income. And when we look for a rental income, what we're looking for is cash flow. So cash flow, let me define cash flow to you. Cash flow is about net profit, and this is monthly or annual net profit. The difference between a lot of people when we're looking for rental income or when we're looking for investing in property, some people are looking at, how much is this property going to be increasing over a number of years. So let's say over the next 5 years or 10 years, how much is this property going to increase in value? But when we're looking to replace our income, what we need is an income stream, not assets. And for that reason, what we need rental income that cash flows high, that has a high net profit. And this is your gross rent. You've got to take off any mortgage interest payments that you've got to make. You've got to take off any letting agent fees or any other fees that you've got coming out of that. Take off your insurance and boiler cover and whatever else you've got. And that is then your cash flow. That's your net profit. And what you'll realize if you start looking at some of the numbers around the country is that as you go north and west in the country, you get better and better cash flow. So in south and east of England, it's quite expensive. And because it's quite expensive, the rent you get relative to how expensive the property is means you only get less cash flow than if you go north and west. The rent relative to the purchase price and relative to the amount of money that you actually have to spend to get that rent, that net rent, is actually the net rent is quite a lot bit higher. The other thing that you can do in this rental income is obviously if you have the time and the money to go and do this, that's fantastic. If you've got, let's say, the money, but you don't have the time, you can leverage the time or the expertise of other people. So I mentioned over there that companies like ourselves, do stuff like that. And certainly when we were starting out in properties, I said we didn't have the expertise. And so what we did, we needed someone to hold our hand. And the first property that we purchased was through a sourcing agent, basically someone that knew the area. They could help us purchase a property, and we paid them a fee for their time, for their effort to be able to help us do that. The second one there is a book or an ebook, a blog, or a course. And in that one, what you need to think about is what skills can you offer? What have you learnt over the years that you've been here that you think other people could use this information? So at the moment, the kind of things that I'm giving to you, based on the kind of response from this, I'll say, well, do I need to turn this into, I don't know, a blog or a ebook or something? Could this information be useful for other people? And could this information be useful for other people? Would people be willing to pay for it? And the great thing about a book or an ebook or a blog or even a course is that once you've done the initial work, once you've written the book, you can sell it again and again, and there's very little effort involved from your part to sell it. So I don't have to go and once I've sold one book, write another book so that I can sell the next book. I can just write one book and sell it to 10 people or sell it to 1 million people if I want to. The next one is MLM, or network marketing. So MLM stands for multi-level marketing. And it's, I think, similar in concept to network marketing. Let me just help you understand what this means. So this will be, let me give you some examples. So Herbalife, if you've heard of Herbalife, Avon, Cleanies, the little magazines that come to your house that say, please buy some stuff. Back in the day, there used to be people doing Tupperware. There used to also be people doing candles, candlelight, I think it was called. And people would, the idea here is that if I'm in, let's say, Candlelight or Herbalife or something like that, I would take Herbalife, the product myself. I would say, wow, I'm getting really great results from this. And I would go and tell my friends about Herbalife. And my friends would say, wow, you're getting really good results. We want the same results. And some of my friends may buy some Herbalife. So they'd buy some Herbalife, they'd get some great results. They may then show it to their friends, and their friends might buy some Herbalife. And what eventually happens is that I make a small profit, a small percentage of every sale that is in my network line, if you like. So anyone that is in my network that buys some of this stuff, I would be getting a percentage of that profit. In simple terms. So that's one. A good thing about MLM and network marketing is that they are basically businesses in a box. They already have a system that works, and all you have to do is follow the system to get to the end goal. The next one is Amazon selling. And Amazon selling, I'm sure you've been on, everyone here has probably been on Amazon probably multiple times this week, I imagine. It's like eBay, if you've not heard of Amazon or been on Amazon. It's like what eBay used to be. It's a one-stop shop for everything. So whether you want to buy a phone or whether you want to buy a pen, most people will just go to Amazon to buy. And Amazon have done a great job in trying to attract people to come to them. But one thing that, one opportunity that we can have from this is to sell stuff on Amazon. But we don't have to just sell stuff that we make ourselves. So, I made a t-shirt, I want to sell that t-shirt. It could be stuff that I have bought in wholesale. So if you've been down to a wholesaler before, so let's say you've bought, you've been to Costco and you've bought, 52 packs of pita bread. And you can now, it's a bad idea actually, but because they're perishable. But let's say you bought 52, phone chargers. I could go to Amazon and ship the phone chargers to the people that buy my phone chargers. But the best bit about Amazon is that there's a thing called Fulfilled by Amazon where they will fulfill my order. So one of the things that people didn't like about eBay was the fuss of, someone's bought my phone charger. I now need to pack it properly and find a box, go and drop it off to the post office, put the right postage on it, and all this kind of faffing about. And what Amazon now do is you can just send your pallet of goods to Amazon and they will ship it for you. So your job basically then becomes about marketing. And let me explain how this works. Let's say you're trying to buy phone chargers. I'm sure everyone's been probably tried to buy a phone charger on Amazon. When you look at the list of phone chargers, even if you type in very specifically, the iPhone 6S phone charger in white, it will still come up with probably 50 phone chargers that all look exactly the same. But they might be different prices and they might be different pictures and they might be marketed slightly differently. Now, are they the same? Are they different? Yeah, some of them will be different. Some of them will be the same. But there will be a bunch of them that are the same, but they're at different prices. And the reason why they are at different prices is basically based on how people have marketed them. So let's say we've got two products over here. There's a phone charger that is 15 pence, and there's another phone charger that is 25 pounds. And there's another one that is 5 pounds. Which one are you going to buy? Now, most people will say, 15 pence, that's too cheap. It can't really be a phone charger. So they won't buy the 15 pence one. Would they buy the £5 one? Yeah, £5 seems about reasonable for a phone charger. But would anyone buy the £25 phone charger? Some people would. And the reason they would is because the marketing is geared to tell them potentially that these are genuine, unique phone chargers, that won't break your phone. And the fact of the matter is that people are walking around with phones that are £500, £600, £700, £800 now. And for the sake of, a few pounds to buy a good phone charger, I could either ruin my phone or I could make sure I don't ruin my phone. So would some people pay £25 for the phone charger? Yes, of course they would. And all that sometimes comes down to is just the marketing. How have you marketed it? So this is things like, how's the title? Have you got good pictures? Is there good reviews? Have you got a good rating? All that kind of stuff. And you can go away to places and learn all of these things. The next one we've got is affiliate marketing. I'm going to just speed up a little bit because I appreciate that I'm a bit late. So we've got affiliate marketing, which is basically find someone who wants more clients and make a deal with them. So who do you know that wants more clients? Like most businesses will want more business. So I'll give you an example. We pay £250 for every referral that we get. If you found us as a company 4 people that wanted to buy a property in the Leeds property market, we would give you £1,000. If you found us 4 people every month, we would give you £1,000 every month. Now just think about how much would an extra £1,000 on your pay packet mean to you? It's quite considerable. And what this is here to show you and to exemplify is that by getting a little bit of extra money, a little bit of extra passive income, it could really change your finances. It's also easier to give referrals if the affiliate is in your industry. If you imagine a dentist trying to sell a laptop or to partner with a laptop company, it wouldn't work so well. Why would your dentist selling you a laptop? Whereas if your dentist recommends a toothpaste or a toothbrush to you, and you go in buy that toothpaste or toothbrush, they might get a little referral fee for doing that. But you trust the dentist to know what he's talking about when he talks about toothbrush or toothpaste. So definitely look into
21 hours.
Definitely look into what is in your industry for you to refer. The final one there is business dividends. Sharing screen. I have lost it. Sorry. Business dividends. So this is if you buy a business, a ready-made business, and all you have to do is don't touch it. Buy a business that is already running with a team in place, and obviously this requires some capital injection. But the plan is don't touch it and let it generate you a revenue. So like I said, all of these different things are fantastic vehicles, and the way to choose one or multiple of these is to say how much time and or money do I have to do any of these things. And if you're the type of person that says I have no money and no time, think about, could you package other people's ideas? So could you use your network and your connections to make money from putting people together? So in our industry, for example, there are people that want to invest in property, and there are people that are property experts. And could you make money by putting them together? Or if you look at people that want to, they want to buy toothbrushes, and there's people that sell toothbrushes. Well, if you can put those two people together and you could take a small fee in the middle, that's an easy way to make some money. The honest answer is, if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. You'll find a way. The next stage, there's 2 more steps here. The next stage is identify mentors and peers. So as Tony Robbins said, the peer group that you're with is really, really important. You've got to find people that are already doing this. So this is by going to networking events, your family and your friends' connections. Think about, who do your family and friends know that are doing what you want to do. Maybe in courses. So if I go to UPW, there's bound to be some UPW people that are doing whatever I'm doing and that I want to get into. And with the mentors, what Tony said was that we need to find people, and he used the word model them. We need to model people that are doing what we want them that we want to do. And the way to find these people is to think about, what do these people want, and find a way to add value to them before we start asking them to be our mentor and things like that. We have to add value to people first. The last stage is the most important stage, which is take massive action. I have to say that this is the most important stage, because without this, the rest of it is completely irrelevant. And that's, like I said, that's exactly what we did when we were doing properties. All we did was took massive action. Is it going to be a challenge? Yes, it's probably going to be a challenge, more than likely. Is it going to be easy? It's probably not going to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But is it going to be worth it? And I want to tell you, having done this for a couple of years, and I'm not where I want to be, but I'm certainly where I never thought I'd be where I am right now. Complete and utter freedom on your time, no one telling you what to do ever. And I really think that that is something that is very much worth it. And if you extrapolate that into from freedom from your time and no one telling you what to do into doing what you love doing and making progress towards your mission, then that is the key to happiness and fulfillment. So I really do think it is worth it. Finally, a couple of slides left. Some resources here about how we can take this forward. So I mentioned earlier a book that I read called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I want to, if you've not read this book, I really want to gift you the idea of this book. It is a fantastic, fantastic book. It changed my life in unimaginable ways. I wouldn't be sitting here doing what I'm doing right now, giving you guys this knowledge if it wasn't for that book. So I would highly recommend it. Purchase it today. Don't wait. The second one is Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. That's also a book. The first one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is by a guy called Robert Kiyosaki, Kiyossaki. The second one is Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, Ecker. And that also is a really, really great book about the kind of mindset that people have around money and how to make it work for us, basically. How do you change your mind and make it work for you, specifically around money? It's like UPW for finances. It's very, very worth it. The third thing there, Mr. Money Moustache, is a blog. If you like reading blogs, if you have time to read blogs, very, very easy to read blog about a 30-something that retired and now shares information for free. The fourth one there is a podcast. If you guys are podcast people, then the Rich Dad radio show is hosted by Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, the same person that wrote the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. It's an American-based radio show, but since we live in a very globalized economy, it's a really, really great show, I think, for all of us to read. They're massive believers, Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, who are very wealthy. They're massive believers in growing your wealth through property and gold, actually. Keeping your money in some of it in gold rather than growing it in gold. The last one over there is the Millionaire Mind Intensive. So that is a course that the same people that run the UPW course for Tony Robbins run the Millionaire Mind Intensive course for T. Harv Eker. So T. Harv Eker was the person that wrote The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, and he's turned that into a course called the Millionaire Mind Intensive. It's a lot cheaper than Tony Robbins to go to. I think it's about £90 or £50 or something like that. It's 3 days. The next one's in London in September this year. So definitely, there's a company called Success Resources, which is where I bought my UPW tickets from. I urge you to get in touch with them because this is a really great course. And just to be clear, I don't have any connection to this Success Resources company. I just think that this course that they run is fantastic, really, really worth it. And that's it, really. That's all. I hope it's been really useful for you guys. In fact, if it's been useful, can you guys just type yes in the comments box if it has been, so I know whether to do it again? That'd be fantastic. Oh, good. We've got some people that found it useful. Oh, that's really good. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you supporting me in doing this. The second thing is I've been getting a lot of people wanting to speak to me one-to-one, and I was just thinking of setting up a bi-monthly support webinar type thing to answer any questions or discuss new ideas about investments. How can we get into it and all that kind of stuff. If you want to, I'm going to move on to the final slide. If you want to join that, if you think it's a good idea, if you could email me, the email is on the slide at the moment. It's shiv@lifestyleleads.co.uk. I'll definitely pick that up and I'll get in touch with you so that we can set something up. I think it would be really good, like I said, in sort of small groups to try and discuss, answer any questions and discuss any new ideas. And that's it. So my name is Shiv Haria. My company is called Lifestyle Property People. If you're interested in property, give us a shout. And my email address is there, shiv@lifestyleleads.co.uk. If I can help you in any way with regards to your finances, then please do get in touch. I really want to help as many people as possible to live the life that they deserve by becoming financially free. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for joining the webinar.